Our next speaker is Ralph from 3S Northumbria. Sorry for misspelling.
No, that's okay.
And Ralph will tell us about international collaboration in space. Ralph, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, and thank you everybody for attending today and for allowing me to be able to present. As Dan did point out, I was very fortunate and honoured to be able to attend the Space Debris Conference hosted in Riyadh, in early February, and it was a very, very good conference. And as I talk, I think one thing I'd like to highlight from that is during the entire 2 days, and with all the exalted speakers, there was not one mention of defence. In the field that I work in, everybody focuses in and thinks this is a defence role. Well, the security of space is very, very important. But the companies that I've developed, both in the past and now, is all about now space sustainability. And more importantly, it's through enhanced space situational awareness. And that space situational awareness is something that everybody can associate to, but it takes a lot of experience and a lot of development. So that's why I've called this presentation Collaboration is Key, or Do Look Up, because although there's a lot of military activity in space, it's everybody's space, and therefore we have a joint requirement to make sure that we keep it everybody's accessible space and it stays long-term into the future. So I thought I'd talk a little bit about myself first, and then actually a little bit more on what the problem is and what the business does. But it is a huge ask, space situation awareness. To understand what's going into, coming out of, and happening in space is something that not one nation can do on its own. And that's why collaboration is so important. I stumbled into the space realm, for want of a better phrase, over 25 years ago when I was actually in the Royal Air Force, and I was an air defender by choice. And I became a space surveillance and tracking practitioner completely by chance. And then 16 of my last 18 years, I served for 32 years in the Royal Air Force. 16 of my last 18 were in space-related roles, mostly to do with space surveillance and tracking and missile warning. At RAF Fylingdales, and then at High Wycombe, developing space situational awareness capabilities for the UK military and supporting civil programs such as the European Union Space Surveillance and Tracking Programme. On retirement, I decided to use that expertise and create a company called Northern Space and Security, or NORSE for short. We ended up with 5 offices in the country. We had our own optical tracking system known as Loki, which was a commercial off-the-shelf camera supported tracking system for LEO tracking, so using optics for LEO tracking. And we were involved in a number of collaborations, both across the UK, with the US, and overseas with Australia as well. Excuse me. And we were successfully acquired by Raytheon UK 2 years ago. I stayed with the company to ensure that everybody was well bedded in, and then decided that I needed to continue my own personal training, my personal journey. And that's where I created 3S Northumbria. The 3 S's stand for Sustainable Space Solutions. And what are we looking at to address? Well, our long-term aim at 3S is to develop an on-orbit recycling mission. That cannot be done as a single nation. That has to be done internationally. And that's why collaboration is so important. When people talk about space sustainability, they focus very much on clearing up space debris. But the way I view it, and use the metaphor of Dickens' Christmas Carol, I see that as the ghost of space past, with great ideas from ESA and other organizations for zero debris of the future, etc. The current debris problem we have is hopefully a debris problem of the past, but it needs to be dealt with. We are finding out with more space activity that we are polluting the upper atmosphere, a potential for that to be quite significant as more and more objects re-enter. So the design for demise idea for satellites is maybe not such a good idea, but we need more research on that. Therefore, we need to keep those objects potentially in space and reuse them. And that's why we're focused on developing what's known as a circular economy for space. So keeping more up there, doing more up there. It's not a cheap option. It's going to be quite expensive, but if we can do it in an informed way, space situation awareness, then we can ensure that the ghost of space yet to come is not as bleak as what it may be, and we can ensure for the long-term benefits of space for all that are involved in space. Because space infuses all our life. So who are 3S Northumbria? Well, we're only 9 months old. As Dan mentioned, we're on the LEO Accelerator program with the UK Space Agency. So Norse, we got great support from the Space Agency when I initially started that as a retirement project and turned it into a real blown company. And now with 3S Northumbria, we're getting support to be able to develop the business. Our vision is to lead the market in the development of a circular economy for space by ensuring the opportunities to increase the skills and experience needed for long-term space sustainability. Again, that feeds into why collaboration is so important, because those skills don't have to stay in the northeast of England, but I certainly want to develop them in my locality. But those skills need to be in every nation that's involved in this. And that's why the collaboration helps to transfer some of that experience to support other countries and other organizations to support their own countries. So you can support the international requirements of space together. And through that learning process and that connectivity, you can actually also continue to support your national requirements as well. And overall, it is a risk management scenario. And what we're looking really is to build the future for what I class as space traffic management. That is the only way we can have sustainable space, is actually by managing what we do in the future. So, as a small company at the moment, we're involved in a number of research projects with local academia. The University of Durham, we've just advertised, and the advert is still there until I think the 24th of March for postdoc researchers. So they've awarded my company £400,000 worth of academic support, 2 postdoc research assistants and up to 4 academics to explore the value of space debris. Everybody talks about we need to remove space debris, but what is the worth of space debris if we can actually recycle it? So we're looking into the value of space debris and how we can integrate that into a circular economy for space for the future. With Northumbria University, we stretch across a number of strands of research. We work closely with the New Data Doctoral Centre of Training for Big Data, and that's a collaboration between Northumbria and Newcastle universities. And we're actually sponsoring a machine learning PhD student applying his research to space debris tracking. But we've, for a long time now, both as Norse and now as 3S Northumbria, I've worked closely with the Northumbria University Law School. Why the law school? Well, actually to do anything about space sustainability, and Andy just touched on it briefly as well about how sometimes the legal entities is outside of the field of influence of developing spaceports, etc. There's a lot of importance in international law, a lot of importance in space law. And so having that understanding of the legal and policy aspect of space is very, very important. And through Northumbria, we developed a concept known as a Space Law Games, which is basically an exercise module where you bring the military-style wargaming to the event in space, and then you apply the legal wargaming, the moot court, to actually take that through the legal process. But we've identified a number of potential product development strands. One is a position and identification system for space. I won't go into too much detail at the moment, but we're in the early research for an independent power source to be able to identify objects, the future objects of space. And we're developing bespoke SSA platforms to support the different requirements for different space sectors. Because what's been very clear to me over the years is the military have a certain requirement, security, to protect and defend. Civil space have a requirement to make sure that who they register comply. And then the insurance sector has their own bespoke requirements. Satellite operators have their requirement. So building up that overall expertise is a massive task and needs that international collaboration. But actually bringing that all together to create platforms to support the different sectors is very, very important. And we work very, very closely with a US company called Exoanalytic Solutions. Exoanalytic Solutions probably have the, they do have the best optical satellite tracking system for deep space objects, so 8,000 kilometers and beyond. They literally have a permanent map of GEO. They have over 300 telescopes deployed globally. They work closely, obviously, with the US military, but also support the US commercial space and US civil space. And I've worked closely to be able to enhance that experience and collaborate with them to bring some of that experience to the UK to help developing our understanding. Our long-term aim of a deep space mission on to recycle will actually have to happen in GEO or in the graveyard, and there's an awful lot to be harvested up there. And therefore, working with a company like that means we can map that area and fully understand what we're actually launching into before we actually get to the final piece. But I'd like to thank you very much for your time. Certainly happy to answer any questions. Contact details at the beginning of the slides as well, if you do wish to reach out to me in the future. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ralph. Thank you so much.